Have you ever been in a situation where you've just shot a video and you need to get that footage over to an editor, maybe on the other side of the world, so that they can get started quickly? Or if quickly isn't quick enough, have a remote editor accessing your live stream in real time so that they can clip parts out, create highlight packages, or make instant edits. Now, you might already be thinking about doing this with non-real-time cloud storage solutions, things like Google Drive and Dropbox, which are fine for sharing documents and text files, but it gets slow and messy when you're working with large media files. That's because of all the downloading and syncing that's required to make it work. Thankfully though, there is a much better way. So in today's video, I'm going to show you my remote editing setup and how my team can work from anywhere in the world with LucidLink. No downloading, no syncing, just instant editing, and how you can do it too. Now, before we get into all of the workflows, you need to understand what LucidLink is and how it powers all of these. So LucidLink is a new way for teams to work together on projects in real time without having to download and sync media locally. It's fast, simple, and secure, and acts just like a regular hard drive connected to your computer, but with all of the benefits of a cloud storage solution. So take this footage that I've just shot in my studio as an example that I want my remote editor to get working on. Traditionally, I'd either have to ship them the SSD or upload all 200 gigabytes worth of footage to something like Google Drive, but then they would have to wait their end for it all to download before starting on the edit. With LucidLink, they can get started straight away and could even have instant access to the footage as I'm uploading it. There's no wait to download the full file because LucidLink streams only the bits of the file they need as and when they need it. Let me just emphasize that point because you don't need to download your media first just to start working. You can play your media and even start editing it directly from the cloud. And that's what really powers a lot of the workflows we're going to talk about. LucidLink revolutionizes the way you store and access your files, making collaboration simple and allowing you to access your files from anywhere in the world as if you were in the same room. No more wasting time with complicated VPN setups or slow file transfers. And because it feels and acts just like a regular hard drive plugged into your computer, you can use all of your existing apps and tools. With your files being in the cloud, you don't have to worry about storage either. LucidLink is fully scalable to handle as much data and as many users as you need. Another benefit is that it provides you with a single source of truth for all of your files. So you don't have to worry about whether you're working with the most recent version or if your team is working with out-of-date files. LucidLink ensures that everyone is working from the same page. And just as importantly, it's secure. It uses military-grade encryption for all of your data to make sure that the only people that have access to your files are the ones that you grant access to. So that's a quick overview of LucidLink and some of the benefits that it can bring you. Now let me show you how quick and easy it is to set it up, and then we'll start building some of those live edit workflows. The first thing you're going to want to do is click the link down in the description of this video, which will take you over to the LucidLink website where you can scroll down to the bottom and hit the Get Started button and then sign up for your LucidLink account. The benefit of that link down in the description is at the time of recording this video, it will also give you a 14-day free trial of LucidLink so that you can try all of the workflows that we're going to be talking about in this video for free. So once you've created your LucidLink account, you've set up your email address, your password, and also set a domain for your LucidLink file spaces, we're going to actually create a new file space. Now you can think of a file space a bit like a hard drive in the cloud. So you can have multiple hard drives in the cloud, file spaces for different things. I've already got one for my video work, but I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to create a new one. So we're going to create a new one now dedicated for YouTube. So all you do is click on this Create New File Space button here. And now, if you're working with video or rich media files, I would recommend choosing advanced file spaces. If you're just working with basic text documents and things like that, you can use the basic file space. But I'm going to stick with the advanced file space, click Next, and this is where you actually set the name of your file space. So in this case, I'm going to give you YouTube, and then it uses your LucidLink domain name that you set in the sign up as the other half. So mine is youtube.alexlive. Click Next. This is where you're going to then choose where you want your file space to be based. Now, good tip, choose what is closest to you. So in my case, United Kingdom, but just try and find a server which is closest to you in this list. Now, if you are going to follow along with the workflows for editing and remote editing in this video, I highly recommend you also click this Configure Advanced Settings and have that ticked, because in the next step, when we click Next, it's then going to give us the option to set our block size for the file space. And this is important to get right at the start because there are no redos. If you get this wrong, you have to delete your file space and create another one. So I found what works best for the workflows I'm going to show in this video is setting the block size to 1. So set it to 1, then click next. And then all you need to do is click the create button and LucidLink will start creating that file space for you. It'll take a few minutes. So what we can do while it does that is actually download the LucidLink client application that you need on your computer. So for that, we're just going to go over to the LucidLink button on the top left here, which will take us back to the home page. Then go to the download page here. And for me, I'm on Mac, but this works on Windows and Linux as well. So just click the download for Mac button here. Once you've run the installer and got LucidLink installed, you should see a screen that looks like this. So what we can do now is actually go back to our web dashboard and we can see that our YouTube file space is finished creating and now ready to be initialized. So we can actually bring it into the client app. So if I click this initialize button and click the launch desktop client and hit open Lucid, you can now see it's connected to that youtube.alex live at the top. And this is where, because it's the first time we're initializing a file space, we need to give it a root password. So set that as something secure. Remember that it can't be recovered. So you have to make sure you remember this password. So I'm going to set it to my usual and then hit initialize. You can see it says connecting to youtube.alex live. And then you'll get this pop-up window. We can actually just close this because I'm going to show you how you access your LucidLink file space manually. So what you'll notice on our desktop here, we now have, just like you have when you plug in an external hard drive, it appears on the desktop, we now have our LucidLink file space here. So if I open that up, it looks just like if we had plugged in an external drive. It's there in the corner as well. And we can treat this just like an external hard drive. We can drag files to it. So if we open up and get some files from my Mac here, I'm just going to copy those and paste them in. And there we go. They paste over straight away, just like a regular drive, but actually now they're available to everyone that I give access to on LucidLink. And there's a few other quick bits I just want to show you with LucidLink. So actually, when it's running, you'll see this icon up here that allows you to see data, so how much sort of remaining documents are actually uploading to the cloud. But also, if we go into the settings icon here, you'll need to type in your password again if you haven't got it saved. But that will then bring up the settings page here. And one of the things I do is, especially when you're working with video, I increase the local cache size here. I think by default it's about 5 GB. I'll increase it depending on how big a project I'm working with, anything from 50 GB to a couple of 100 GB. And what the cache is basically doing is, remember, the way that LucidLink is working is it's only streaming down to your machine the parts of a file that it needs. So if you're working, let's say, on a timeline with video files, you might be editing a section of the timeline and it streams that data down, and then you might go and edit another section of a timeline, it streams that data down, but then you want to go back to the original section. Rather than it streaming down all that data again, what it can do is use a local cache, so it can store that section of the file locally, so that if you do want to work on it again, it's using the local version rather than having to stream all that data down from the cloud for a second, third, fourth time. So that's what the local cache does. So I like to increase that depending on how big a project I'm working on. And that just means that it's using less resource, less bandwidth and stuff like that, because it's able to access the data locally rather than always from the cloud. The other thing you can do as well is change the cache location. So if you want to have the cache on maybe an external hard drive rather than using your internal hard drive, you can do that as well. So now that you've got LucidLink set up on your local machine, let's get into setting up those remote editor workflows. So what you're seeing on the screen now is an example of my editor's PC. We'll call him Bob, but it's actually just a Amazon Web Services instance running somewhere in the UK, and I'm remoting him for this demo. All I've done right now is installed LucidLink on it. So before my editor can log in, we've actually got to create him an account. So I'm just going to go back to my local Mac here and go into my LucidLink account up here and go to settings again. Again, you'll just have to enter in your password for security reasons, and then it will open up the settings. And this is where we're going to go down to users, and we're going to create Bob an account. It's really quick and easy to do. So I'm just going to click the plus button here. I'm actually going to call him, or the username, as YouTube Editor. And just set the regular password and add him as a user. Now, the important thing that I also do here is I only want to give Bob permission to the files that he needs. I don't want to give him all of my file space files. So I'm going to just go into add permission here, and then I can select from here exactly what folders or files I want him to have. So I actually want him to have the access to all of this Hyperdeck Shuttle folder, which is something that I recorded on my ATEM, and I'm going to give him read and write access to that folder. And then that's it. That's all I need to do there. If I wanted to do multiple folders, I could add those in so that Bob can access all of those. So I can actually come out of the settings now. And now we can just go back onto Bob's machine here. And all he has to do is add in my file space name, which is, in this case, it's video.alexlive. And he's going to now log in with his new account. So this is YouTube editor and password. And then you can see it says connecting. And now he's connected, and we can actually open up that folder, and you will see he now has instant access to the one folder that we just granted him, the Hyperdeck Shuttle folder. And he can go in there, and he's instantly got access to all of the ISO files, no downloading required. Again, this is all streaming in real time from the cloud, but you can see he's instantly got access to all of the files and folders right on his machine that I gave him access to. And he can start working with those straight away. So let's open up DaVinci Resolve here. In fact, what we'll do, as this was an ATEM ISO project, we'll just launch the ISO project that the ATEM creates straight into Resolve. I can show how my remote editor can get working straight away without having to download or sync any media, and can just work on the edit in real time. So here we go, it's opening up now, and there we go, straight away. No waiting. We've got the timeline there as if the file was local, but it's not. It's living in the cloud. I can play it through without any buffering or stuttering. And obviously that is dependent on your download speed in the same way that watching something like Netflix would be as well. But we can make, my remote editor will be able to make all the same edits that he could do locally as well. So let's just trim a bit off the start here. Maybe we'll cut, if I just zoom out a little bit, we'll cut this long break out of here. And then let's also add in a camera angle as well. So if we go to camera 3 here, which was my close-up on the Hyperdeck, and I'll actually find where I press record. Yeah, somewhere around there, I think it was. Let's see. There we go. There's the in point. We'll select an out point about there, and we'll just drag that in over the timeline here. So if we zoom back in and play that now, there we go. So I'm making all these same edits, and it feels just like as if I was using it with an external hard drive plugged into my Mac or PC. It's buttery smooth. Now let's say as my remote editor has been editing, he's realized I've said something wrong and needs me to retake a line. Now LucidLink really does speed up that process. So if I just go back to my Mac here, I've got my retake line that I did here. All I need to do is open up my LucidLink folder, get the Hyperdeck Shuttle folder that I've shared with my remote editor. I'm just going to do a retake folder here and drop it into the retake folder. So that's it in there now. Now, if we go back to my remote editor's PC, that will instantly show up in his folder structure as well. So there we go. The retake folder pops up there. And inside there is that retake file, which my remote editor will be able to use straight away. So in fact, let's go and find it in DaVinci. If we go to the media tab, open up my LucidLink folder, we can see the retake file there. And let's just create a new bin. If we go into the master, new bin, retakes, and just drag it into there. And now we can double click on it, find that section that we need, start an in point, an out point, drag it on top, or do whatever we need. And of course, when the remote editor finishes the video, they export it back into the LucidLink folder so that me and any of my team are able to watch it instantly and approve it. So that's how LucidLink works with remote editing pre-recorded content. But what happens if you need something quicker? What happens if you want your remote editor to be editing even while you're still recording or while you're live streaming? Well, that's where growing files comes in, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. But before I do that, let's talk live graphics with today's sponsor, Uno. Uno is the free broadcast quality graphics platform designed for live streamers. It gives you instant access to hundreds of easily customizable graphics templates, from lower thirds to sports scoreboards, news tickers, and so much more. Imagine you're live streaming a soccer match, for example, and you want to display the score on screen. With Uno, it's possible within minutes. Just head over to overlays.uno and sign up for a free account, and you'll have access to a wide range of pre-made templates that you can easily filter through until you find the perfect style for your stream. Customizing and controlling your overlay is simple. You can do it right from your web browser on any device, whether it be a computer, phone, or tablet. Adjust team names, customize the color scheme to match your brand colors, and even add team logos by pasting a link to their hosted images. Once you're happy with your graphic, getting it into your broadcast is just as easy. Click the copy output URL button and add it as a browser source to your preferred streaming software. Whether you use OBS, Streamlabs, or vMix, for example, Uno seamlessly integrates with your setup. But it doesn't stop there. From anywhere in the world, you can update and control your graphics live, animate your overlays on and off, update scores as they fly in, all from one web page. And if you prefer physical buttons, they've got you covered too, as Uno now offers a free Stream Deck plugin that allows you to control your graphics directly from your Stream Deck device. This is just a small glimpse of the countless number of overlays available on Uno, so if you want to up the quality of your live broadcast graphics, head over to the link in my description or sign up at overlays.uno. Best of all, it's completely free to use right now, and within minutes, you can have high quality animated graphics added to your streams. Plus, the team at Uno are always looking for your suggestions and ideas of new templates to be added. So if you think you've got something that you want to see on the platform, send them a message using the feedback form on their website. Right, so I'm going to show you now how I use OBS to create a growing file into LucidLink so that my remote editor, no matter where in the world they are, can access that in real time. And even though I might still be live streaming or live recording, they can actually start on the edit from anywhere in the world. So there's multiple ways of doing this, from the kind of consumer way like I'm doing it, using a free product, in this case OBS, all the way up to broadcast standards using things like EVS or other software that can actually create growing files. And why would you want to do this? Just before I start, it can be used in a load of different ways, whether it be live sport, clipping parts out from that, music concerts, awards ceremonies, quick turnaround edits. There's loads of different times that you might want to use a system like this. So let's get started. I've got OBS open here. I haven't had to make any changes to it or anything like that. All I've done is just added in my ATEM mini, which is the feed I want to capture. And I've got the audio and video feed going in. So if we go into settings now, there's just a couple of settings that you need to change. And the one we're going to concentrate on is the output tab. If you were streaming to places like Twitch or wherever, this is where you'd set in the streaming section here, you'd set up your streaming settings, but we're concentrating on the recording tab because that's what's key. That's what's going to generate our growing file. So what we need to first do is change from a standard type to a custom output. And then you're going to follow basically what I've put in here. So we're going to say output to file. Here in the file path, you're going to select your LucidLink folder where you want your growing file to go. So for me, it's in this Hyperdeck folder. I've created a new folder called growing files so that now my remote editor will have access to that. The container format needs to be MXF. And then if we scroll down a little bit, the video bitrate. Now you have to be quite careful when you're setting this. If you set the video bitrate too high, something higher than your actual upload bandwidth, your network won't be able to keep up. And so what you'll end up getting is your video editor will slowly lag more and more behind because you're recording at a higher bitrate than what you can actually get out the door and be uploaded to the cloud. So for me, as an example here, my upload speed is about 20 megabits per second. I know it's in kilobits here. So I've set this to about 15 megabits per second. So there's a little bit of headroom, but you know, we should still get good quality. So it's basically a balance between your computer specs and your upload speed, but also quality. You don't want to set this too low, otherwise the actual file quality isn't going to look great. The keyframe interval is to do with your frames per second that you're filming in. I'm filming in 50 frames per second, so it's set as 50 by default. And then you just want to check that the video encoder is this one here, MPEG-2 video, which should be default, and the same with the audio encoder as well. So if your screen looks like this, you should be good. Click apply, and that's really all of the settings that we need to change here. and we can hit start recording. So I'm going to do that. Just start recording in OBS. That's now going to create our growing file. I'm going to do something visual, like a couple of waves, so you can see this here at the beginning when we play it back in just a second. And we can see if we go into our LucidLink file space here and go into our growing file folder, we can now see this file has been created. There's a little up arrow showing that it is still being uploaded to the cloud, and that's because it's continually growing. So that will stay there the whole time. In fact, if we go up to the LucidLink tab at the top here, we can actually see this little remaining upload. And what you'll notice is it will grow as the file gets bigger, but then as more data is going out the door and being uploaded to the cloud, it will jump back down again. So we want to try and keep this number stable. We don't want it to build up into the hundreds of megabytes, because that basically means that our editor is going to start lagging behind because it's not getting he's not getting it quick enough. So that's looking good there. Now let's go and check our editor, see what they're seeing. So if we go over to our editor's PC, and remember this could be anywhere in the world, and open up our LucidLink folder here, and now go into the growing files folder, we have got this new file, and we can play this straight away. So I'm going to open it up in VLC, and you'll see there's my waves that I just did a second ago. And what you'll notice if you look carefully at the timeline here down at the bottom is every once in a while it will just sort of jump back, and that's it getting another chunk of data, another sort of 10 seconds worth of footage. So this timeline will actually never reach the end. It will just keep growing and growing, and this file will keep growing and growing as long as we're still recording on our local machine. So yeah, that is how a growing file works. And then what we could do is we could put this into our editor if we wanted to. Now, I will say right now, DaVinci Resolve doesn't work so great with growing files. So I'm going to do and show you how this works with Adobe Premiere Pro. I've got a new Premiere Pro project open on a Mac right now because I couldn't install Premiere Pro on the Windows I was using, but it works exactly the same. So if we go into our LucidLink folder, go into the Hyperdeck folder, the growing files folder, and there is our growing file getting ever larger. And all we need to do is drag that into Premiere Pro. It takes a few seconds to load in, but once it's in there, we can double click on it to open it up in the source viewer here, and we can just play that like any other file. Let me mute it there. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to do some waves here. In fact, I'm going to do, because we're going to do some edits, I'm going to do point number 1, which I'll talk through a little bit here, and then point number 2, which I'll talk for a little bit here, and point number 3, which I'll talk for a little bit here. Now, the way I have this set up, if I just show you quickly, if we go into the Premiere Pro preferences and go into the media tab here, I've actually told Premiere Pro to check the growing file every 10 seconds and refresh it. So what you'll notice is this timeline number here will actually grow every 10 seconds or so, and it's going fetching that new footage every 10 seconds. So again, we can just scrub through the footage here. Let's go and see if we can find my wave. There we go. There's my wave. And just don't forget, this is happening anywhere in the world. The remote editor is having instant access to this file as we're recording it, no matter where in the world they are. So let's actually start editing this and kind of showing how you could do a highlight. So let's find where I say point 1, which would be here. Yeah, let's go about here. We'll set an in point for that, and then an out point, and we'll just drag that onto the timeline. So that's point 1 there. Then let's find where I talk about point 2. Let's go for that. Set an in point and an out point there. Drag that onto the timeline. And you can see how we're able to build this up quite quickly. Equally, if we wanted to, we could just drag these out on the timeline and then edit parts out. So I can, you know, make an edit point here. Oh, I'm a DaVinci person. I've got to remember what the buttons are for this now. Oh, of course, this would be the stumbling block. There we go. Let's just get the razor. So we can edit these parts here, and then remove that. We can start building up edits from our live stream, and you can see it plays back again as before, buttery smooth, no problems at all. And all the while, in my case, 10 seconds, the default is 60 seconds. Our source viewer here is updating. So we're getting the latest footage in here, and we can go and skip to parts. You know, if I want to skip to the most recent part here, let's go take a little section from here, for a little 5 seconds, set an out point, bring that in here as well. And let's now say that that's our edit done. We're happy with our edit. That's our highlight package. Of course, our remote editor can also put it straight back in to and export it out to LucidLink as well. So we can export the media here, keep everything the same, but we're going to choose LucidLink as our destination. So we'll just go in here. I'm going to create another folder called exports. And we'll call this highlights 1. Hit export, wait for that to export. And now on my local Mac, I can go to my LucidLink folder and I will see, even though we're still recording on here as well, if I just move this out of the way, you can still see OBS is recording. If we go, we've now got the exports folder and I can play that back and have a watch of the edit that my remote editor just did for me of the highlights. So you can see how we can create these real-time highlights and clip parts out so quickly from anywhere in the world. So there you have it. That is how LucidLink can power remote editing, both for pre-recorded content, but also live content as well. If you want to give this a go yourself, don't forget to hit the link down in the description below, which will give you a 14-day free trial of LucidLink so that you can try all of these workflows. Also, at the time of recording this, IBC, the International Broadcasting Convention, is next week. I'm going to be there, and so are LucidLink as well. So if you want to go and see them in more detail and find out more about them, they are in Hall 3, booth 67. It's a really exciting time for them because LucidLink will be showcasing their first integration with Adobe Creative Cloud and introducing the LucidLink panels for Premiere Pro. It allows editors to preemptively pin and cache just the media needed in their edit with inside Premiere Pro. And I've also heard they're giving a sneak peek of a cool new integration coming with Frame.io to connect from camera to cloud. So definitely check them out at IBC. And as I say, I'll be there as well, creating a bunch of videos and breaking news as new products gets announced. So make sure you've hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of those. If you like today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. That really does help. And also hit the subscribe button if you're new here for more videos just like this, and so you don't miss the IBC content. And if you have any questions, please do get them down in the comments below. I read through all of them and will reply to as many of them as possible. And finally, if you need help with your setup, my email address is on screen now. Ping me an email and we can set up a one-to-one consulting session to answer any of the questions you have. Maybe you're looking to implement a remote editing workflow. We can get that set up for you. And once you've done all that, guys, I will see you on the next video.